Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to talk about asset allocation, and I'm going to talk about it very differently from what people say. People say that you should have your asset allocation clearly in your mind. You should articulate it. It should be there in your investment philosophy statement, and you should always stick to it. I don't always agree because my view on asset allocation is slightly different. One, if I am doing asset allocation for a couple, husband and a wife, let's say the husband is a person who is doing his own business, and the wife is a professor at IIT, and I'm doing the investment asset allocation for the family. How I look at it is, the husband is taking all the risk, so his life itself is equity. The wife is not taking any risk, and in terms of career and all, and her career will last till her age of 70. So she will be able to get a salary till the age of 70 and a pension post age of 70, right? So assuming she has a defined pension, so she's going to get that money every year, every month, for her life. So her ability to take risk is very high, but she has already taken the risk by marrying a guy who is running a business, right? So for them, asset allocation will be very different than from two bank employees who both have to retire at a particular age, and the wife is already feeling at 50 that she does not want to work anymore, so she might retire even earlier. Their risk taking ability is very different. So you have to think from a complete family package rather than as just one individual. So from where is the husband earning, from where is the wife earning, how are they spending, what are they spending? If they are earning 100 rupees and they are spending 5 rupees or 7 rupees, the ability to take risk is high, but the need to take risk may not be there at all. What happens if the children have started earning or children are about to start earning, and the children are doing very well academically, or children have done very well academically and started earning very well? Then the ability to take risk goes up and the need to take risk goes down. People don't understand the importance of children doing well in life. It removes a tremendous amount of stress from you, financially, physically, etc. You know your children are not going to come back and ask you for your money because they are not doing well, right? So you have to remember all these things while doing asset allocation. Now, suppose you are doing asset allocation for a family where their annual expenses are about 4 lakhs, right? They have a portfolio of about, say, 10, 12 crores or 15 crores. So which means how much do they need for retirement? Assuming 30 times, that is 4 lakhs multiplied by 30. Let us take it at 5 lakhs multiplied by 30. This family needs only 1.5 crores. How much do they have? 15, 16 crores. Honestly, asset allocation, it's a joke. It doesn't really matter, because if they got direct equity in this 15 crores, maybe their direct equity, maybe their dividend income is greater than their expenses. Once that is done, the need to be in any kind of debt instruments is goes down to zero. So if you can understand risk, if you can articulate risk, if you can quantify risk, if you can do your own portfolio planning and portfolio management, then the words like asset allocation may not make any sense to you. But however, if you don't understand all these concepts, and if you're young, you're 25 years of age, then you need to understand that the money that you require in the next 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years should be in debt instruments, and the remaining should be in equity instruments. At 25, the most important ratio, most important number for you is what percentage of your income are you able to save stroke invest, right? That is the most important ratio. At 50, it is very important that you reduce the risk in your portfolio, because you still have a risk that you may not be working for the next 10 years. What happens if you are hit by some paralytic attack or something like that, and you are not able to work for more time? You thought 50 to 60 is the time when you would earn the maximum, which is true for most of us. And that's the time when your income falls dramatically because of health reasons or whatever reasons. You had an accident, you're in coma for 5 years, 6 years. It is almost impossible for you to get back to your job, right? So your retirement age just got preponed from 60 or 62 to 50, right? So these kind of risks have to be reduced. So understanding how to reduce those risks, all that is important in asset allocation. So suddenly you may have to do better asset, different asset allocation for this family, because one source of income, which is perhaps the biggest source of income, has ceased to be there. And if the wife is already retired or was taken a VRS or something like that, then that source of income is not there at all. Will she go back to working? Those are all questions which are difficult to answer. Now, so asset allocation cannot be seen in isolation. It is asset allocation, it is risk allocation, it is understanding risk, it is about managing risk, and then seeing where your asset should be placed. That whole package is asset allocation. So there can't be a formula which says 70% should be in equity, 30% should be in debt, etc. Yes, these are very good rules to know, but when it comes to you individually, what will matter is your investment philosophy statement, your own goal statement, how, in what stage of education your children are, whether the husband and wife both are earning, whether both are earning enough, right? For example, if the husband is earning 100 and the wife is earning 10, then it does not really serve any purpose, because the standard of living is that of 100, right? But if husband is earning 20 and wife is earning 18 or 22 or something like that, then yes, it makes sense to know whether both are working, how long will both work, right? All these things put together create your investment philosophy statement, and then from there flows your asset allocation. Thank you. A portion of your equity, or rather a portion of your total portfolio, would be in capital preservation. It's very important to do capital preservation at least for a big portion of your portfolio, maybe 70-80% of your portfolio. There has to be capital preservation. So how do you do capital preservation in equity, and how do you do capital preservation in debt? What are the risks in debt? Let's come to debt first. The biggest risk in debt is bad debt, right? So if a fund manager loses money, or if you put your fixed deposit in a bad company, I mean Diwan Housing, if you had kept your money in Diwan Housing or Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, that money is gone. So that was the risk, risk of default, that not 1 rupee will come back. The other worry in a debt fund is it will be a portion of the fund, right? So one company defaults or two companies default, you don't get your money back. Then one big fund house showed that they can keep your money for 2 years, even if it's ultra short bond fund, and then return it to you and claim that they gave good interest, but you did not get liquidity, right? So when you say capital preservation, it means you should be able to access your money when you want it, without some fund manager or a fund house telling you how it is good for you, right? You don't want all that gyan. All you want is your money when you need it at a rate of interest which is prevailing in the market, right? That's what you want. So you don't want any risk. So some portion of your money should be in ultra short bond funds spread over 3-4 mutual funds, which is a learning which I got in 2020, that ultra short bond funds can take risk. What fund managers can do to get returns, one has no clue, but the fund may not be true to label, so be very careful. So even if you were to put in one category, I would suggest 2-3 companies in which to put. So then you avoid the duration risk and you avoid the credit risk. For capital preservation, this is very important. So you can be in gilt, but if you are in a 30-year gilt, you are taking duration risk. You can be in credit risk fund, but in a credit risk fund, you run capital risk. You should not run risk of capital, risk of duration, or risk of time, or risk of credit on any mutual, on any part of your portfolio which is aiming at capital preservation, right? So that's very important. So what about equity? Obviously, top quality management, last 15 quarters of rising EPS. This is a philosophy that I learned from FII, for whom we were doing research. They said 15 quarters of increasing EPS, which completely eliminated commodity stocks, etc. Banking stocks would walk in, technology stocks would be there. Grinding wheel and electrode manufacturing and your Larsen and Toubro's, Adore and ISAB and Carbon and Universal and all would walk into it, but very rarely could you find a sugar stock or things like that, right? So you go into good quality management, good business, and long term. You have to have invested in these for a long term. So for me, Colgate is part of my capital preservation because this is a 40-year-old investment. There is no way how the price can go anywhere below my cost. That is what, when I say capital preservation, I put 100 rupees, it should not go below 100, or at least not in the long run. In the long run, it should be protected against inflation and taxation, right? So I go and pick up a portfolio which is like this, or I go and pick up a bunch of shares which are like that, and after some age I put it into a box and say, this is my capital preservation strategy, that these shares will never go below the cost at which I have acquired them, because I have acquired them with very sensibly, with a big moat, and I don't think it can go below this, come what may, and I've been holding them for 10-20 years. For example, if it is State Bank of India, I don't think it can go below 150 rupees. If it's BHEL, I don't think it can go below 25 rupees. So if it is Tata Power, I don't think it can go much below 30 rupees. Now if this is your cost of acquisition, at cost of acquisition, see how much of your capital can be preserved, 60, 70, 80%. Then you see the need to take risk. If there is no need to take risk, your whole portfolio can go into capital preservation. There is no reason why I should be taking any risk at all, because my requirement will be met by my equity portfolio alone, which is already there. I don't have to do anything towards it, right? So I can meet my day-to-day expenses with dividends, and I can let my portfolio grow, right? So understand the philosophy of doing this capital preservation. So whether it is debt or equity, take care and make sure a portion of your wealth which has to be kept for a longer term. The most important thing is capital preservation. What is also important is at what rate it is growing, but as long as it grows above the rate of inflation and you don't withdraw and pay taxes, you're doing good. Your capital is being preserved. It's very important for you to know which shares of yours are part of capital preservation. Mention it in your investment philosophy statement, mention it in your investment diary, sit with your family and say, this is capital preservation and this is my core portfolio, this is my trading portfolio. Explain it to them. That's very important. Thank you.